A strange meteorite flies through the night sky, leaving a shining trail behind it. Something mysterious is descending to Earth. A meteorite plummets into a city block, causing an outburst and a strong shockwave. Around the corner against the wall, someone is lying in blood. His breathing is ragged and his hands are shaking. He suffered from the fall of an object. The victim barely whispers before he loses consciousness. His lips are trembling with pain. A mysterious figure approaches the wounded man and says, "You survived, so you're one of us."
Hmm.
In the morning, a student named Gino walks into the store, surprised by the number of cat treats on the shelf. He rejoices at the discount. "Oh, these were sold out last time. We need to take several at once." He's thinking about buying treats for street cats because they're his furry friends. "I want to buy everything, but too much. What should I do?" Gino wonders. In the end, he decides, "Come on, I'll take everything," and grabs a bag full of cat food. He remembers how he was supposed to complete the project, but cats are more important. Gino smiles happily at the package of treats. The cats will love it. He notices a child playing with a ball on the edge of the sidewalk and stops. A boy suddenly runs out into the roadway chasing a ball. The car abruptly turns the corner. A collision is inevitable. Gino is horrified. "No!" He jumps forward to save the child without a second thought. The headlights illuminate the street, and in a split second before the collision, the light flashes. Gino flies into the frame, pushing the child away. They are enveloped in bright energy. A car passes by. There is no one on the road. People are shocked. Where did they go? Gino is breathing heavily. His heart is pounding. He just used a power he didn't know he had. The boy blinks at him. Gino sits down and says softly, "It's okay. You're safe." Passers-by discuss, "I saw him disappear. He just disappeared." Gino turns away and mutters, "I've been noticed." Gino leaves, not knowing how to explain his sudden appearance and disappearance. He thinks, "I'm glad I saved the boy. But what now?" "Did you know that boy?" the other children ask. "No, it just happened." Gino merges with the crowd, internally struggling with anxiety. He keeps walking, eyes downcast. "I have to be careful. Evening is coming." Gino returns home holding bags of food in his hands. "Hey, guy." He calls to the street cats, setting down the food. "Sorry I'm late." Cats don't eat. Gino is surprised. "What's wrong? Why don't you eat?" A black cat meows, looking into his eyes as if calling for him. Gino leans over to the cats and asks, "Do you want me to follow you?" The black and white cat meows in response and runs off towards a dark alley. He hesitates but decides to follow her. The cats lead him through the shadows to a mysterious place hidden behind old buildings. "Did you bring me here?" Gino wonders, looking around. He's surrounded by cats, and they're all staring at the same point. He cautiously enters the dark room. Everything looks unexpectedly neat there, as if someone lives here. Looking back, he whispers, "Did I lose consciousness?" He ends up on the floor next to the cats. "Where am I?" There's a paw in front of his eyes. He looks up. "Is that a cat?" He's in shock.
Hmm.
Waking up, the cat looks at Gino. "Oh, you're awake." Gino exclaims, "You're alive. I was so worried. When I saw you covered in blood, I thought you were—" The cat snorted. "You look worse than me." Sitting down opposite, Gino quietly adds, "You look tired. Why are you alone on the street at all?" "Here you go. You're hungry," Gino says, pushing the bowl closer. The cat is silent, not moving. The guy gently coaxes, "You need to eat. You won't recover without it." He puts a second bowl full of food next to it. "And this is for you, too. We should eat more." The cat, unable to stand it, rushes to the food, greedily biting into it. It looked like he was really hungry. Gino's happy to watch this. "That's it. Eat in peace. Everything is for you." But the cat's head is full of irritation. "Did he give me regular food? I'm not an ordinary cat." Nevertheless, hunger takes over. He continues to eat, feeling an inner struggle between pride and survival. He sniffs the milk, takes a careful sip, and sighs heavily. "It's all—" He carefully picks up the cat and jokingly says, "Let's check. Are you a boy or a girl?" The cat's eyes widen in horror. His fur billows and he hisses, "How dare you!" The cat breaks free of Gino's arms, lands on his paws, and looks around. Are you crazy? I'm telling you, don't touch me. Gino is stunned. Are you talking? Yes, I say. Surprise, the cat replies irritably. Now shut up and listen. He's coming dangerously close. Do you want me to get inside your head and perform brain surgery? The cat jumps on the table and snorts. Now I can finally think in peace. He walks around the room looking around and Gino slowly moves away to the wall. It can't be. Is the cat talking? Name. I want to know your name, the cat says sternly, glaring at him. Gino stutters but replies, Gino, my name is Gino. The cat turns sharply to him. Okay, Gino, bring me a chair, over here now. He nods in panic. Yes, yes, of course, and quickly pulls up an office chair. That's better. The cat settles down on the seat, crossing his paws like a real lord. Gino sits down across from him, still not believing what is happening. He mutters softly, what a strange day. The cat is thinking, why is it so hard for me to keep in shape? What's going on with this body? He suddenly turns to Gino. Listen carefully. If you tell anyone about me, the cat's eyes sparkle with an ominous light. I will destroy you. Got it? Gino jumps up. Yes, yes, I understand. Not a word to anyone. The cat snorted and turned away. He opened up too soon. We'll have to be more careful. He slowly examines his body. Who's fat here? Is that a belly? He goes to the mirror and squints. Look at this. Double chin. He clutches his sides with his paws, his eyes widen in horror. What is this? And finally he roars at the whole room. Is that me? The cat glares at Gino and says, listen carefully. There may be cat monsters in this area. Gino raises an eyebrow, slightly surprised. What are you talking about? What kind of cat monsters? But at the same moment, a pair of scarlet eyes appears in the alley, and a strange creature comes out of the darkness. He freezes. This is it. The monster you were talking about? It looks like a cat? The cat's stomach is rumbling loudly. Gino smiles. Oh, you're hungry. Here's the food. He puts a bowl of food in front of him. Caden is silent, but it is clear that he has given up. He eats in silence. Gino speaks softly. You were unconscious and I thought you wouldn't wake up. I also nursed you, by the way. Caden growls slightly but swallows another bite. You're turning me into a cat again. He continues to eat, albeit reluctantly. Gino adds, you're a human, but now you're a cat, so act like a cat. Caden responds with annoyance. I know you can't eat human food. I don't have to repeat it. Gino stands up, heading for the door. I'll go feed the others. They're probably hungry by now. The cat watches Gino leave. Then he looks into the bowl. This food tastes, eyes widen, pupils narrow. Is it delicious? He looks at the steaming bowl. A flash of taste awakens him. He is shocked. What is this taste? They take off. Caden rushes forward without turning around, and Gino jumps after him. At this moment, lightning strikes from the sky, illuminating the street with blue light. The force is awakening. Gino feels a flood of energy permeate him. His body feels like it's bursting, but he's standing. Silhouettes in the dark are watching. He activated the force, and all because of one cat monster. Caden, come back. You're made to command. The voices sound like an echo. Caden looks at them with disdain. I'm not with you anymore. I don't need power. I need freedom. They call him again. Caden, come to us. But he looks away, glancing at Gino. Caden takes a step back and abruptly grabs the toy, spinning it in the air. What are you doing? Shouts Gino, but the cat, growling, makes a dash to the side. The toy flies straight at the monster, distracting it for a split second. Gino grabs this moment. He jumps forward using acceleration. Caden is shocked. He's faster than I expected. The monster doesn't have time to react. Gino slides along the ground and grabs the cat on the fly. The creature roars in rage and rushes after them. A flick of claws and nothing. Emptiness. Caden freezes. I didn't give him that. It's a movement. Did he master it himself? The monster's angry. The claws slice through the air, but they can't reach. Gino is moving too fast. Is this guy using speed abilities? Wonders Caden. Lightning crackles all around. Gino activates a new wave of energy. His body vibrates with effort. He makes a dash and the monster stays behind. An explosion of light engulfs the street. A body flies out of the center of the flash. The monster is thrown into the wall. Gino lands on his knee. Breathing hoarsely, he gets up and looks at the smoking figure of the monster lying in the asphalt. Caden comes closer. Hey, you. Why did you get into a fight like that? Gino wipes his forehead and answers. I just couldn't stand by and do nothing. The monster makes a rattle. He's not dead, just unconscious. The body sagged, the claws unclasped. I knew it was him, Caden says. We've run into each other before. Gino looks down at the beast. He was different. I felt like he was calling for help. Caden looks away. Let's go. People will be coming here soon. High above the street, a mysterious man in a burgundy suit stands on top of the antenna. He watches the battlefield with a frown on his face. He looks at his device and mutters, strange. There was a lot of activity here just now. The equipment in his hands is buggy. Is it really broken? Or is he blocking something? While trying to set up the device, he notices damage to the structure. It's definitely him. He tightens his grip on the device, and his eyes flash red for a second. An angry mental cry breaks through the myriad antennas and cables. Where are you? Where are you hiding? Meanwhile, there is silence outside the window. The night becomes normal again. At home, Gino returns to his apartment. Still tense, he quickly looks around the room. He opens the first aid kit and takes out everything he needs to help the injured monster. Wiping sweat from his forehead, Gino sits down in front of the two cats. I did everything I could. I think he's going to be okay now. Caden watches in silence. Gino carefully checks his pulse, breathing. Everything is stable. He's just in shock. But there is no serious damage, says Gino and leans back on the sofa with relief. He continues, all this blood. I was sure he was dying, but everything worked out. Caden nods. You acted correctly, fast and clear. The doctor examining the cat remarks, interesting. Outwardly, he's not that different from the usual one. He's like an ordinary cat, but with an incredible energy density, Caden adds. Gino smiles, stroking Caden's head. Thank you for being there. I couldn't have done it without you. They look at each other in silence. The room becomes calm. It's all over. While Gino looks anxiously at Caden, who is strangely silent. He looks down and asks cautiously, Hey, are you okay? Pause, but suddenly Caden jerks violently and Gino screams, Mr. Cat? He rushes to him, shakes him, trying to bring him back to consciousness. The cat is motionless, eyes half closed. Wake up, please. Gino shakes him harder. His heart is pounding with fear. Suddenly, Caden abruptly opens his eyes and says, Stop it. I didn't lose consciousness either. Gino freezes with his eyes wide open, and Caden irritably adds, Put me down already. He picks Caden up in his arms and holds him close. I was so scared. I thought you were. Caden huffs irritably. That's enough. I was just relaxing. That's it. He grumbles while Gino strokes him and smiles. You scared me anyway. I'm glad you're okay. Caden looks away. He's too kind. He gets up and goes to the window, watching the other cats running around in the yard. Gino asks, What do you see there? Caden quietly replies, He's fine. He's just sleeping. Looking at the monster lying on the floor, Gino says, This guy, he was really in danger. He sits down next to me and says, Hey, Caden, can I ask you a question? The cat turns its head. Just call me Caden. Gino nods. Okay, Caden, then I have a question. What are you really? Caden doesn't look away. I can talk because I'm human. It's just, I look like a cat right now. He sits down in a mentor's pose and adds, This is temporary. In fact, I'm just like you. Are you a transformed human? Gino blinks. Is that possible? Caden says with a grin, It should be obvious. Take a closer look at me. He adds, And to become like me, you need to try a little bit. Caden looks away. You're asking too many questions. There are some things you don't want to know. He sighs. Even though we met under such circumstances, ridiculous circumstances, don't stick your nose in the wrong place. Gino gets a little nervous, scratches his head and kneels in front of him. Silence falls between them. Caden doesn't change his position, but his tail twitches. You wouldn't understand, even if I told you. The cat's stomach is rumbling loudly. Gino smiles. Oh, you're hungry. Here's the food. He puts a bowl of food in front of him. Caden is silent, but it is clear that he has given up. He eats in silence. Gino speaks softly. You were unconscious, and I thought you wouldn't wake up. I also nursed you, by the way. Caden growls slightly, but swallows another bite. You're turning me into a cat again. He continues to eat, albeit reluctantly. Gino adds, You're a human, but now you're a cat. So act like a cat. Caden responds with annoyance. I know you can't eat human food. I don't have to repeat it. Gino stands up, heading for the door. I'll go feed the others. They're probably hungry by now. The cat watches Gino leave. Then he looks into the bowl. This food tastes, eyes widen, pupils narrow. Is it delicious? He looks at the steaming bowl. A flash of taste awakens him. He is shocked. What is this taste? He flops on his back, pleased and overwhelmed with emotion. I didn't know that cat food could be so divine. Caden freezes. It's really delicious. He turns over on his side, licking his mustache. This Gino dragged me into this. He set me up. He closed his eyes, but his thoughts were still spinning. Power, taste, warmth. Everything is so strange. Meanwhile, Gino is walking down the street, holding bags of food in his hands. He goes to the other street cats. Caden, lying by the window, watches Gino leave. He whispers to himself, did you really decide to do all this? Gino returns home, puts down the bags, and checks the food. Caden asks, are you going to go out again at this time? Gino replies calmly, yes. We need to buy some food. I'm out of it. Caden looks at him. Are you going to the store again? In the middle of the night? Gino nods. Yes, but if you want, you can come with me. Caden replied, why on earth should I go with you? Gino smiles and says, don't be mean. Let's go together. What if I tell people that you're a talking cat? Aren't you afraid? Caden sighs. Okay, maybe that's wise. He reluctantly agrees. Lead on already. That's great, Gino says, picking him up and hugging him tightly. Caden stretches out his paw as if giving up. What are you doing? He says indignantly. Am I not a cat to be carried around like that? Gino replies with a serious face. You're hurt, so you better not strain yourself. Caden frowns, but eventually whispers, okay, but only because you insisted. The evening city lights up with neon signs on the street. Gino walks confidently with Caden in his arms. Caden, sitting in his arms, looks around. It's not so bad when you're being carried. Approaching the veterinary clinic, Gino says, Doctor, I came to show you something. The doctor comes out and asks in surprise, Gino, why did you come so late? Gino explains, he was covered in blood. I couldn't just leave him like that. The doctor takes Caden in for an examination. Inside the clinic, they lay him on a table. Caden stares at the instruments in silence. Did this bastard decide to test me? The doctor wrinkles his forehead. I haven't seen this cat before. His name is Caden, Gino confidently declares. The doctor sighs. That's a big name, not what he looks like at all. Let's start the examination, the doctor says and picks up the instruments. Caden can barely contain his irritation at the same time. You can't humiliate yourself in front of this man, Caden mutters to himself. The doctor is surprised. Are you saying that he was covered in blood? But he only has scratches. It looks like you've already processed them. Gino exhales with relief. Thank God, so I did everything right. Caden looks at him with silent approval. This guy, the doctor concludes, he's fine, but honestly, he should go on a diet. Caden gets all tense. What did you just say? Everything else is fine. Come back if you have any new symptoms, the doctor adds. Outside the veterinary clinic, Gino smiles with relief. I'm so glad. Caden, wrapped in a towel, whispers, he really saved me. They leave the veterinary clinic. Gino walks down the evening street with a slight smile. Finally, it's all over. Caden is silent. He hides his face in the hood of his jacket. Only his ears stick out. They don't say a word on the way home. Gino just gently hugs the cat to his chest. They find themselves alone in the room again. Caden is lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling. Gino approaches cautiously. The cat turns its head, its eyes narrowed. Gino feels a strange tension. He sits down next to me without breaking the silence. Caden takes a deep breath. After a minute, Gino suddenly exclaims, You really are a talking cat. Why did I find you? Caden turns away. I don't understand myself. Gino remembers the moment when he first saw him in a pool of blood. It was scary, but I couldn't get past it. Caden grumbles. Do you often help unfamiliar cats bleeding on the street? He buries his face in his paws but does not hide his embarrassment. This guy is, too soft. Gino leans forward. You've been acting like a human being since the beginning. I felt it right away. Caden sighs. Your intuition is too good for a simple guy. Gino continues. You're injured, but you helped me in battle anyway. I'm grateful to you, Caden. He gets up, heading for the exit. I'm going to get some food now. There doesn't seem to be anything left for the other cats. Caden raises his head. Again? At this time? Yeah, you can rest. But if you want, you can come with me, Gino says, opening the door a crack. Caden looks after him with displeasure. And why would I do that at all? Caden looks sternly at Gino. Do you even understand what you've gotten yourself into? What if the monster still wakes up after treatment? Gino looks worriedly at the sleeping cat. I'm worried anyway. I can't just let it go. He gets up from the couch, muttering to himself, as if trying to convince both himself and Caden. Okay, I get it. I just hope everything goes well. Caden rolls his eyes in displeasure. Stop whining already. It's going to be okay. I told you. He looked at the monster lying there. Although, come to think of it, what if he turns into something even more terrifying than me? Caden can't take his eyes off the creature. His eyes narrow, his instincts alert. He tilts his head slightly, as if listening to an inner feeling. Anxiety grows in him. Meanwhile, Gino stammers, trying to speak. I need to tell you something. He doesn't dare look Caden in the eye. I'm a little confused. When it happened, Caden turns his head. You mean how you instantly found yourself next to the cat? Gino nods. Yes, please don't tell anyone about this. He jumps up abruptly. I don't want anyone to know about my ability to move. Caden wrinkles his forehead. Who are you anyway, huh? Do you think I'm telling everyone about my powers? Gino answers in surprise. What about it? Is this not normal? Caden blinks lazily. You don't even know what it means to be awakened, do you? He speaks softly. Am I an awakened one? Caden pauses, looking at Gino's face. He seems to understand something. He sighs, softening his voice. Yes, you are an awakened one. It's just a rare case. Most people don't even realize they have the ability, Caden adds, looking away thoughtfully. Gino suddenly raises his hand sharply. Teacher Caden, I have a question. Later, he stands alone, and silence reigns in the room. Thoughts are spinning in my head. Caden, as usual, is frowning. What a bore. Gino is stunned. Am I awakened? He still can't believe what Caden is saying. Caden calmly confirms, of course, you have a living example in front of you. The guy looks at Caden as if he's seeing him for the first time. What? He blurts out. Yes, I'm an awakened one too. And I have a special ability, just like you, Caden explains. Are you serious? Is turning into a cat also an ability? Gino wonders, digesting this. Caden shakes his head. Did you think ordinary people could change shape so easily? Gino can't contain his emotions. His eyes are shining. What? Wait, what? He doesn't believe he's not the only one. You're special too, he whispers, looking at Caden. Yeah, the cat simply replies and slowly approaches. There is no doubt that he is facing an awakened one. Gino wipes away his tears. I'm sorry. I just thought there was something wrong with me. He looks at Caden with gratitude. Before I met you, I thought I was the only one. People with such powers try not to shine, Caden explains. No one wants unnecessary problems. The frame changes. Gino remembers how even his mother did not believe in his abilities. He holds his hand over his heart. I was so afraid. I was sure that something was wrong with me. If people found out, they would be afraid. Or worse, they would have started studying me like a test subject, he says, lowering his head. And even now, knowing the truth, it's hard for me to feel safe, Gino admits. Caden watches in silence without interrupting. There is understanding in his gaze. But to find out that I'm not alone, that there are others like that in this world, Gino's voice trembles. He wipes his eyes and laughs through his tears. You know, I even feel relieved. Now he's sitting next to Caden in silence. There is a calmness in the room. Caden, could you tell me more about these awakened ones? Asks Gino hopefully. Caden responds sternly, not all awakened ones are equal. Their abilities depend on how they have developed themselves. Caden says that the abilities of the awakened are different. Some control telepathy, others are capable of causing destructive explosions. Gino is surprised. Like in a manga, he says softly, listening to Caden compare everything to superheroes. Caden explains, your ability is a basic power. With development, it can become a powerful weapon. He confirms that previously he could only use the Force for a second a day, but over time he was able to prolong it. Now I can hold it for 3 to 5 seconds. Gino smiles proudly, showing his progress. Caden nods seriously. You're controlling her pretty well. It looks like you've really been training. Gino is interested. Do all awakened ones develop abilities? And bows his head with interest. Of course, Lord Caden confirms. Otherwise, the power fades with time. The guy laughs. Huh, although I still think it's necessary to hide it. Caden snorted. You're a special case. His stomach rumbled softly. Gino stood up. Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking so much that I forgot. I didn't eat after dinner myself. He headed to the kitchen, leaving Caden waiting for dinner by the couch. The guy takes a bag of cat food. I need to eat something. He grabs something for a snack himself, and Caden watches his every move with suspicion. Gino glances at the hungry cat. Okay, now I'll give you some too. The food clatters into the bowl, filling the air with a crisp sound. You should eat too, Caden, insists Gino, sitting down next to him. Caden looks at the bowl in disbelief. It's that cat food again. He sighs heavily, but nevertheless sits down in front of the bowl. There is no choice. Well, what can I do? It's delicious, even though it's shameful to eat it out loud, Caden mutters, starting to eat. The room fills with the sounds of contented chewing. Gino is smiling, and Caden is purring from eating. An ominous energy is swirling over the city. Something terrible is descending from the sky, coloring the streets with a scarlet light. Clumps of energy crash onto the roof, piercing the silence. Their power is frightening and unpredictable. Caden jerks his head up. He can feel her. The hair stands on end. This is something alien and dangerous. What kind of energy is that? Caden's eyes widen. He gets into a fighting stance. A red glow penetrates through the windows. The room is filled with an ominous tension. The creature's red eyes open in the dark. It wakes up and is ready to attack. Caden sees the monster coming to his senses. What? He hisses. Too fast! There is a crash as the creature bursts out, smashing through the glass. Caden and Gino are stunned. The monster streaks through the living room without stopping for a second. He leaves the house like a bullet. With a bang, he flies out, leaving behind only broken glass and wind. Caden, he's escaped, shouts Gino, not believing what is happening. He looks out the window, silently assessing. He was too hurt. He shouldn't have moved, Caden says tensely. I don't believe it. Is he on his feet again? Caden's eyes are filled with disbelief. He stands up, his expression becoming focused. It's not just curiosity anymore. Gino notices the movement and asks, What are you doing? I have to find him, the guy replies firmly, pulling on his cap. He can't allow an attack. Are you after him again? Don't interfere. It's dangerous, Caden insists. You were just lucky last time. Gino turns around, hiding his gaze. I'm not only afraid for people, I'm worried about him too. Caden looks at him in silence. His eyes are getting softer. Damn, he mutters, turning away. Okay. Gino is beaming with joy. Will you come with me? Caden is sitting next to him importantly. I just don't trust this energy. The cat is frowning. Don't get it wrong. I'm not going because of you. Thank you, Gino replies sincerely. Shut up and moo, Caden snaps, jumping onto the railing. Darkness covers the sky. Gino nods. Yes, I understand, Caden just snorts. An explosion thunders and fragments are torn from the roof. The energy is torn skyward. Sneakers clatter on the asphalt as Gino bursts into the alley. The next step is even faster. He is as focused as possible. Together with Caden, they rush through the streets, leaving flashes of red behind. Your speed skill is developing, Caden comments, standing on his shoulder. What other abilities do you have in mind? Asks Gino, panting. Caden looks away. You're hiding something yourself. But one thing is clear. Someone has been developing abilities all this time. Oh, I get it, Gino frowns as if realizing something important. At the same moment, he abruptly dodges the attack. A flash of lightning. Caden remarks, how many seconds can you use the force? If I see the right situation, it takes about 2 seconds, Gino breathes heavily. Caden is not surprised, but evaluates. It's better than it was. A dash forward, the footsteps on the asphalt rattle louder and louder. Where to next? Shouts Gino. Straight ahead, commands Caden. How do you know that, Caden? He replies simply, I know. Red energy snakes in the sky. The danger is getting closer. If I'm right, Caden whispers, this monster is an awakened one, and he's coming right towards us. Gino rushes down the alley, remembering Caden's words about another awakened one. What did he mean by that? Hiding in the shadows of buildings, he notices a strange footprint, as if from claws left on the asphalt. Meanwhile, a mysterious man is chasing a mutated cat, watching its every move. I wonder, why didn't you run away earlier? He muses, watching the beast. There's a cold gleam in his eyes. He understands that in its current state, the monster would not have been able to escape from the cage by itself. Someone helped. A flash of light and a hole is visible from the ceiling of the broken room. Someone has destroyed the barrier by force. The man looks down with a grin. "Well, now you're in my power," he whispers, approaching the beast. The cat rushes forward furiously, growling angrily, but his eyes are full of horror. He feels the superiority of the enemy. "Oh, are you trying to threaten me?" he says mockingly, watching the beast's attempts to resist. The monster clenches its paws. The distorted energy around its body intensifies. It's still fighting. "Well," the man grins, "show me what you can do." Meanwhile, Gino and Caden come out of the alley, listening for every noise. "Caden, over there." Gino points to the far passage, where a familiar shadow flashed by. "Stop!" he screams, but Caden is already pulling away from his arms, arching in panic. "This way, quickly, hide," he commanded, dragging Gino around the corner before it was too late. They barely make it in time. A burst of energy tears through the air, and they fall together behind a trash can. Cautiously peering out, Gino watches the hallway. It's quiet, but the tension is building. Caden looks out after him, his eyes narrowed as he noticed someone Gino hadn't seen. "Caden, what's wrong?" whispers Gino. "The cat we're looking for is over there." He nods to the side, and Gino notices the silhouette of a man. "Don't you see that guy in front of him?" The darkness over the street has thickened, and the same man is visible in the background. "He's awakened," says Gino anxiously. The monster's claws are tapping on the asphalt. His movements are becoming more and more threatening. It's going to attack again. This is the limit of his awakened power. "He's not a threat yet," the man in the suit says calmly, watching the creature. The monster hisses, grins, and lets out an evil growl, but its body is shaking with fatigue. He hasn't given up yet, but he's about to fall. Caden, squinting, reaches for his cap. "Are you still awake?" he asks the monster ironically. "I don't understand what's going on, but I have to save the cat," the boy thinks anxiously, leaning over the red and white cat. "Stop being an idiot," Caden says sharply, standing next to him. There is irritation and concern in his voice. "Caden? But you said yourself that this guy is an awakened one," the boy says, dumbfounded, looking at the dangerous shadow in the alley. "Do you really think you can handle the same thing I've been fighting?" Caden's voice is stern, his gaze intense. "I know it's different, but I'm an awakened one too," the boy responds defiantly, his eyes full of determination. "Do you think I'm going to let you just go there?" Caden barks, his ears flattened, angry and worried. "Are you ready to risk your life for a cat?" the other guy asks softly but reproachfully, looking straight into the hero's eyes. "What will you do if he attacks you?" He continues, his voice growing more anxious. "You have to be careful. If this guy is awake, it's a whole different level," he says, looking up at the roof where everything is being observed. The boy is silent, looking down. Fear is raging inside him, but he can't back down. Now he should understand that it's not worth interfering, Caden thinks, watching the situation in suspense. The monster, though wounded, hisses again and rises. His body is shaking, but he's ready for the final attack. Why doesn't he run away? What's holding him back? The man watching him wonders. Suddenly, the creature turns around and rushes away. Is all the observer has time to exhale. Running? Huh. It's useless, the one who was following him grins. He is sure that the monster will not escape. And in the next instant, a red cloud rushes after the fleeing beast, absorbing its power. "It's over," the man says calmly. An electric shock flashes in the dark street. Bzzzt! A powerful pulse pierces the space and tension hangs in the air. Shush, shush. Burn marks remain on the asphalt. Blood spreads in puddles, reflecting the red light of neon signs. The burnt body of the mutated cat collapses to the ground. Collapse. He doesn't show any signs of life anymore. A man in a suit, arms crossed behind his back. The result was lower than expected, but the main thing is that the experiment was successful. He approaches the body. "It's time to take the sample," he says with cold determination, clicking his heels. The guy notices what is happening. There's anxiety in his eyes. Is he going to take the body? Close-up of Caden's gaze, he's tensing up. "Caden, I'll try to save him with my own strength," the guy resolutely declares. He straightens up and adds, "I'm not going to fight, just to save the cat." He smiles at Caden a little guiltily. "I'm sorry, I know you're angry because you're worried about me." Caden turns away and snorts. "I didn't say I was worried. The guy clenches his fists. You're right. My strength may not be enough, but this cat is important. Caden is silent, staring at him. The look is hard, but there is respect inside. The guy takes a step forward. Caden stays in the shadows, watching his every move. Idiot! What is he even going to do? Caden thinks, frowning. The man in the suit notices the guy. This boy is approaching the body. Is he really going to take it away? The guy's loud footsteps echo. Well. The man frowns. What? He turns towards the sound, his face showing confusion. The guy falls to his knees by the body of the mutated cat. I have to save him, at any cost. Caden abruptly runs out of the shadows, his eyes sparkling. He went to Sodsturum, never one. The man in the suit is amazed. He didn't expect this. You? Seriously? Close-up of a man's eyes. There is anger and anger in them. He's looking. He waves his hand. You bastard, he shouts and launches a powerful black wave at Caden. The man in the suit looks at the empty seat in shock. He disappeared. The voice is full of anger and confusion. He looks around frantically. Where did he go? He was right in front of me. Clutching his head, he steps back. Damn! A scream is heard from the alley. Let's go before the other monitors come running. From the height of the roof, the streets look empty. The wind is blowing petals through the night city. The sky is obscured by the soft light of lanterns mixed with flying petals. Traces of the ability. Ha! Ha! The guy breathes heavily, running away. Caden's paws are tapping on the asphalt nearby. The guy smiles, hugging the mutated cat to his chest. Caden, we did it. Caden snorts. What are you talking about? We didn't do anything. Hey, can you even hear me? Caden shouts, looking at him. The guy is laughing, holding a wounded animal in his arms. I just couldn't leave him. I had to try. I just couldn't escape, he says with a sincere look. Caden looks at him with a mixture of anger and surprise. The guy smiles slightly. I just couldn't get past it. That's it. The cat looks at him, tense, but with a slight glimmer of respect. Don't laugh, you idiot. The guy breaks into a run, and Caden walks next to him. So useless. Caden grumbles, but his eyes are softer than before. He turns away, but with a sly gleam in his eyes. He saw something more in the guy. The guy leans towards the wounded creature. Who would have thought that we actually did this? Right in front of his nose. In the sky above the roofs, a night silhouette hides in the dark. The guy beaming says, Caden, maybe it sounds weird, but I'm really excited. Caden blinks. Shiakatina. Excited? The guy looks at the starry sky with a smile. Today I realized that the forces I was so afraid of are actually not that bad. The guy with the bruised face is angry, clenching his fist. Shut up. You don't know anything at all, fury breaks through in his voice. Caden and his companion are running down the night street. Damn it. What should I tell him? The guy thinks, looking ahead. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, someone is punching the table in anger. How could they take away my sample? This thing is the most important. He's frantically rummaging through his papers. The sample was important. I can't believe it was stolen. The man in red feels his back. It seems I'm being followed. He looks down and continues. The sample that escaped may have been successful, but it was stolen from me before confirmation. The dark-haired man nods silently. Yes, master. Meanwhile, Caden uses his power to restore the injured cat's health. The light of energy permeates the beast. He is breathing slowly. His body is glowing. Caden sighs heavily, and the guy looks at him. Are you okay? The guy looks at the beast. He's alive, but his body suffered a lot. He gently strokes the cat. I thought he was going to die back when we first found him. Caden answers quietly, but now his life is not in danger. The guy smiles with relief. I really thought he wouldn't survive. He continues, gently touching the cat. But he's fine. This cat survived. Caden notices. He survived the impact that destroyed the wall. He's not ordinary. The guy exclaims in surprise. What? Are you saying this cat is also an awakened one? Caden replies with a note of seriousness. Yes, and maybe he was part of the experiment. He turns to the cat and thinks about it. Although, there have been too many cases like this lately. Caden recalls, these monsters, and it all started after those footprints appeared. He speaks sharply. We're in for something dangerous. The guy looks at Caden with concern. You don't seem to be yourself. Is everything okay? Caden slaps his paw hard on the guy. Of course I'm not okay. It's all because of you. You have no idea how much danger you've gotten yourself into. The guy answers guiltily, rubbing his head. Well, I was worried about you too. But what was I supposed to do? He would have died. Caden angrily points with his paw. The reason is not a problem. The problem is that you went to where the awakened one was. He roars in rage. And you also saved the cat along the way. The guy cringes, stunned by the scream. I just wanted to help. He sits down next to me and mutters, I just saved the cat. Caden snorted and thought to himself, this idiot. He doesn't even realize how much trouble he's created. Caden looks away thoughtfully. Experimenting on the awakened is one of the darkest topics in this world. The guy lowered his gaze and muttered softly, I probably shouldn't have done that. Caden turns to him, wagging his tail. They won't stop. Now you're involved. Caden thinks for a moment. Should I tell him everything right now? He looks at the young man who is silent, staring at the floor. Even if I did, would he be able to handle it? The guy bows his head. I'm sorry for dragging you into this, and for the extra trouble. Caden turns his muzzle to the side and grumbles. Who says I'm worried about you? He suddenly explodes. You fool, I'm not acting like this because I'm worried, but because it's annoying. The guy looks away, embarrassed. Yes, I get it. Caden sighs, pointing at the cat. Now you have to keep an eye on him too. He yawns and leans back on the pillow. Oh, it's time to get some rest. The guy relaxes too, smiling. Yes, you can relax a little. Suddenly the phone starts ringing loudly. Beep, beep, beep. The guy flinches. What, is it morning already? He gets up quickly, pulling on his jacket. Yunho, where are you going? Yunho runs away, screaming. I'm not done talking to you yet. Caden raises his eyebrows in surprise. What? School? Yunho, hastily getting ready, answers. Yeah, looks like it's time for me to go out. Don't forget to feed the cat. He hurries to the door. I'll leave more food for him, so don't forget to feed him. Caden yawns, stretching. Well, okay. Suddenly the guy remembers. Oh, I almost forgot. Caden pricked up his ears. Huh? Yunho anxiously glances at the sleeping cat. What if he wakes up while I'm gone? If he goes crazy again? Caden snorts. Go away quietly. If anything, I'll figure it out. He adds, this cat doesn't even have the energy to fall back into that state. Caden is grinning. Anyway, why do you think he could beat me? Yunho is beaming. Wow, Caden, you're so cool. Caden nods gravely. I've heard it many times, youngster. I told you, I'm not just a cat. I'm an incredibly strong person. Yunho jokingly adds, yes, but you do realize that you look like a fat cat, right? Caden roared. Shut up. Yunho is already at the door shouting, I'm off. Caden mumbles to himself. What now? Yunho looks out from behind the door. Caden, will you be here when I get back? Caden doesn't immediately respond. What? Yunho smiles softly. You haven't fully recovered yet. Please rest. He leaves, saying one last thing. Or at least stay with me until you get better. Caden looks after him. This guy, he stays alone in the room. Caden looks out the window, sighing. It looks like I don't have a choice since the kid asked. I'll stay with him for now. He looks thoughtfully into the distance, squinting. I hope he doesn't get involved in another stupid thing. Suddenly, he feels an anxious energy and clenches his paws. Damn, what is that feeling? A meow is heard. Caden turns around. Meow? What's that noise? Unfamiliar cats enter the room. Caden looks at them warily. Who are these furry intruders? They're getting closer. Caden is silent, watching. One of the cats winks. The cat starts rubbing against Caden, who says irritably, Senam, hey, what are you doing? A black and white cat approaches the bowl. Meow, I see food. Caden, don't even think about touching my food. The black and white cat sniffs the bowl. Caden clenches his paws. The cat starts to tremble, afraid of the pressure. Shh, what kind of aura is that? Caden releases energy, and steam escapes from the cat. Get out, you're annoying. The trembling cat settles down. The others freeze in fear. Caden's strength grows and his eyes flash. I said, get out! At this time, Yunho remembers. Did you ask how I found you? These cats brought me. He says to Caden, they were looking for you, and they sent you to me. Caden angrily shoos the others away. These cats are too noisy. He yawns. Okay, it's just cat food anyway. The cats sneak up on the food, looking around. One of them is peeking around the corner. The other is meowing. Caden sits to the side, looking at them. A circus 6C. Caden sits well-fed and contented, while the other cats eat noisily. Alamilam, meow, meow. Crunch, crunch. He chuckles. It looks like they've had enough. Suddenly, his stomach rumbling. Grow. Hell, hungry again. He looks around. Where else is there? Aha. In front of him is a can of cat food. Caden squints. How would you open it? He pokes at the jar with his paw, but it won't budge. And finally, a click. The pot opens. Victory! Haha, who's in charge here? The cats turn to him warily. A trio of shiny-eyed new fuzzies appear from behind them. Meanwhile, Yunho returns home. I'm home. He notices the mess and says, dumbfounded. Sirenia, what the? How did you do that? The cats are sleeping, and cans and lids are scattered around. Yunho sits down and says, how did they even open them? He picks up the jar and peers at it. The lid is not even cut. Did someone help them? He raises his head. How did this even happen? In the background is a memory of a woman. She says, Yunho, I know you blame yourself. He answers, but if only I were stronger. The woman smiles softly. No, dear, it's not your fault. She adds warmly, and it's certainly not someone else's fault. The boy stands alone, his shoulders slumped. Why doesn't anyone want to be friends with me? His quiet voice sounds. He sits down on the ground, burying his face in his lap. The woman gets down next to him and hugs him. Mom, what is it? He asks hopefully. He looks up, full of longing, and finds a glimmer of sadness in them. The camera zooms in on his eyes, reflecting something unexpected. He sits alone on the playground, watching others play in the distance. Abruptly, his gaze turns to the side. The boy turns around in surprise. A kitten? A red and white cat stands in front of him and calmly looks into his eyes. No. Meow. The cat comes closer and rubs against his leg. Aha! The boy screams in surprise. The cat keeps rubbing, purring. Naya! The boy falls silent, looks at him in disbelief. The cat just stays close. He sits up, not taking his eyes off the furry guest. The boy watches with bated breath as the cat turns and looks back. The cat shines in the reflection of the light, almost like in a fairy tale. Sparkle! The boy stretches out his hand, hesitantly, afraid to scare him off. He almost touches it, but stops. May I? Won't you run away? The cat is closely watching his movements, and suddenly he bows his head, putting it under his palm. The boy strokes him. Oh! The cat starts purring loudly. Purring! The boy smiles broadly. Wow! He hugs the cat. Now he's not alone. With a shout, the teacher rushes into the classroom. Get Shinu! Are you sleeping in class again? Shinu abruptly jumps up from his desk. Huh? But it's too late. Everyone is watching. The teacher continues angrily. I've endured for 2 days, but you're still busy sleeping, both today and yesterday. Shinu blinks, not immediately realizing what is happening. He mutters softly, a lesson. Is it over? And looks around in confusion. The teacher is confused. Did you even hear the bell? Jimwoo, are you all right? What is it? He asks worriedly. Ah, got it. Shinu answers quietly, clearly trying to avoid unnecessary conversations. He gets up from his chair. Teacher, I'll go first. With a bang sound, he runs out of the classroom. The teacher turns around in amazement, but Shinu has already disappeared. Hey, Zia, Shinu! It's coming from behind. Shinu runs down the hallway, rejoicing to himself. Caden is waiting for me at home. As he turns the corner, he runs into 2 students. See, Sorry. Boom! A collision occurs. Is everything okay? Shinu asks one of them solicitously, helping him up. But then he makes eye contact with a tall, scowling high school student. Shinu says succinctly, I was just in a hurry. The stranger silently passes by, ignoring him. Shinu looks after him in surprise. He scratches his head, thinking, he leaves without even saying anything. Wait, I think he transferred to us recently. The guys on the stairs are rushing home. I'm sorry, I have to run, one of them shouts, running downstairs. A tall guy with a serious look walks down an empty corridor, silently alone. He takes out his phone. Vibration. Mr. Where are you now? A message is coming. He answers briefly. I'm at school. An irritated voice is heard on the other end. What? School? We discussed this. You should have gone straight back to the orphanage. I'm sorry, he says softly in response. Stop wasting time. Come back immediately. Yes, sir. Restrains emotions by looking out the window. He is silent, watching the students laughing carelessly in the courtyard. Then he takes off his glasses and leaves, hiding in the light of the setting sun. The camera is transferred to a house where everything is quiet. The wounded cat's eyes open. He sits up slowly, looking around. Other cats run up to him, meowing excitedly. The gray cat looks at them warily. One of them is getting too close. Meow! The kitten pulls kindly but gets a sharp response. It's H! The gray cat hisses, pushing him away sharply. The other cats jump back in fright. One jumps up in surprise. A gray cat with a wild look rushes away, hiding from the house. An enraged gray cat bursts into the room with a frenzied hiss, its claws digging into the floor. He growls and rushes straight to the other cats, who cower in fear of his gaze. The furry attacker lets out a loud roar, causing everyone to tremble and back away. He takes a step forward, menacingly raising his back. Now he's like the owner of the room. The cat abruptly rushes at the others, soaring into the air with a terrifying scream. But at that moment, Caden appears. He hits the enemy with his paw. Sumakunmemun, have you completely lost your fear? The impact throws the gray cat aside. It flies, hits and falls on the sofa. The other cats are watching in silence in a daze. The gray cat lying down only wheezes, breathing heavily. He has clearly lost. Caden says furiously, "What are you doing here? This is my home." All the cats run away in a panic, not knowing what to do now. One of them screams, "Ah, you're all so annoying." But as soon as Caden sits down, the others start rubbing against him, meowing gratefully. Sure, meow, purr. A quiet chorus sounds while Caden just winces. Tired of it. Suddenly the door opens. "I'm home," Gino exclaims, coming into the apartment with a bag. He looks at the cats who greet him with surprise. "Are you all here?" Irama. Caden calmly turns around and walks towards them. The cats are happy, tails up. How was your day?" Gino asks, smiling, stroking everyone. The cats circle around him in delight, rubbing against his legs and purring. "Caden, did you even eat while I was gone?" "What is it?" he asks, picking up one of the cats. He just turns around, not answering, but he looks pleased. "Even if you don't want to eat, at least don't grumble at others for eating." The camera shows an empty jar, proof that someone ate everything. Gino enters the room and sees all the cats alone. He exhales with relief. Phew, it seems calm. He comes closer, looking at the lying cat. Still unconscious. It's already been too long. Caden frowns and says, "If he hasn't woken up yet, it could be more serious than you think." "He finally came to his senses once," he adds after a pause. Gino is surprised. "Really? When was that?" "While you were at school." He opened his eyes for a second but switched off again. Gino strokes the cat, smiling with relief. "I'm so glad, just a little bit, but it's already good." He looks at him tenderly. I'm so relieved that he responded at all. Caden changes the subject. "Listen, Gino, are these 3 cats even yours?" "No, they're homeless. They just stopped by my place." "But then why did you buy half a store of cat products?" Caden asked suspiciously. "Well, I just can't get past it. I feel sorry for them." Gino answers, confused. Caden squints. "I'll evaluate it myself." Gino laughs. Etty. When I was little, I didn't have any friends. Everyone was scared because of my strange strength. I was alone all the time. I was afraid to even touch people. I might use force by accident. And the first one who came up to me was a cat. He hugs one of the cats. I've been feeling connected to them ever since. They're always there. At first, I just bought them food, and then, one by one, they started staying. I understand that I can't take care of the whole world, but if I can at least help these 3, he hugs one to himself, who purrs, Sounds dumb, doesn't it? Gino laughs, rubbing the back of his head in embarrassment. Caden watches in silence, not knowing how to respond. Finally, he turns his head and says, "It's not that stupid." The scene changes. Gino yawns and stretches. I'm so sleepy." Caden notices. "You even dozed off at school. You need to get some rest." Gino collapses onto the pillow. "Oh, shh." Well, as soon as I decided to take a break, Caden lands on his chest with a thud. Gah, at least he warned me. The cat turns away silently. Caden, whispers Gino. "I'm really glad you're here," he says with a smile. "You have to stay until you're fully recovered." Gino looks into Caden's eyes. "Promise me." Caden blinks slightly but doesn't respond. He turns away. Don't be an idiot. Just sleep. Sleep. I want to. Gino mutters, falling asleep next to Caden. The cat silently watches him, as if guarding him. Meanwhile, in the underground laboratory, one of the scientists shouts, "Why doesn't it work? Why? The other experiment worked. Why, even with the same drugs? Can't repeat the result?" He clutches the railing fiercely and looks down. "Are you sure these were the last ones?" the assistant asks. "Yes, sir. I just wanted to check if the mutations were caused by other animals that came into contact with the sample." The scientist clutches his head. "I don't need the trackers to find us. They're going to start asking questions about our research soon," the second one adds coldly. "And sooner or later, the trackers will catch up with us." They enter the hall where another mutant is sitting in a cage. Even he's useless. "These animals are the last thing we have left." "Master," says the subordinate, "these were the last animals and the latest samples." The chief scientist clenches his teeth in rage. "Damn it. We need more test subjects," the chief scientist barks, exiting the cage. The assistant is silent, but visibly nervous. "People started to get suspicious. The animals are disappearing, and the police have already dispatched investigators," he replies. "Stop talking to me!" The scientist throws the object aside with a shout. "Slap!" He slaps his assistant on the cheek. "I'll find someone to catch myself if you can't handle it." The assistant wipes the blood from his lips. "And I'm sorry. Who do you even think you are to argue with me?" The scientist roars furiously. "If it's dangerous here, go to another area. Get them at least from the city center. I don't care where. The main thing is that I need results." "Useless," he mutters, walking away down the dark corridor. "I have to find a way out. Otherwise, I'm finished." Meanwhile, deep night envelops Gino's house. Caden and Gino are sleeping peacefully side by side, curled up on the couch. Suddenly, Caden's body begins to glow with a faint blue light. Shh. Magical energy swirls around him. The cat raises his head, his body trembling with tension. Caden slowly spreads his paw. His gaze is full of determination. He clenches it into a fist. Reaps. "It's driving me crazy." The power never returned, he says mentally. Physically, the body is already normal. But for this form, the load is too heavy. Caden remembers how he saved Jin, surrounded by a whirlwind of energy. If I hadn't intervened then, who knows what would have become of him? He looks away with annoyance. That bastard, he's going to make himself known. If he had the nerve to experiment, it means he crossed the line a long time ago. It's dangerous. If he's lucky, he'll just run away, Caden muses. But if not, Jinu will be in danger. The young man shudders in his sleep. Ugh. He moans softly, hugging Caden. Is he having nightmares? Caden narrows her eyes, watching him. Considering what he's been through, it's no wonder he's having nightmares, Caden sighs. Caden, Jinu mutters sleepily. The cat sighs heavily, then suddenly jumps on his chest. Bam! Jinu opens her eyes abruptly. Something is pressing. Caden presses down on him with his weight, glaring into his eyes. Knock, he stands up, leaving Gina stunned. When did I get on top of him? Jin sits down. I had a nightmare. Some guy attacked me, started strangling me, and I couldn't move. Caden looks away. PF. What? I see. It's because of all the events of the last few days. Caden replies, turning away, hiding his concern. Jinwoo sits next to Caden and says softly, What you said back then is still spinning in my head. The cat looks at him carefully. So you were listening after all, and not just staring at the floor like a sad rag? Well, yes. Everything you said back then. Jinu smiles, scratching his head. Caden sighs heavily. Where's? Okay, at least you're not a complete idiot. Thanks for worrying about me, Caden. The cat blinks. What? I should have felt guilty for making you worry. But for some reason, I'm even a little pleased. Is there such an impudence? Caden jumps up. I wasn't worried at all. Huh, you weren't worried then? Jinwoo laughs. I just said that because you look like a bag of bones. I see. Jinu smiles a little sadly. What? I'm not someone who has time to think about others. Caden snorts, turning away. Jinwoo looks at him with genuine interest. If you're so worried, then I'll tell you something. There is a way. Caden turns around abruptly. Really? Are you really going to teach me something? Of course, so don't keep asking the same questions. They walk down the stairs, descending into a spacious basement. It's not that bad. You can train here. Good, then let's get started. Caden jumps on the table. You've been using force blindly so far, but if you use the remote, I'll show you. Oh, your ability will develop much faster and more efficiently. But to be clear, the very fact that you have become an awakened one does not mean that you will immediately become strong, says Caden, carefully looking at Gina. Developing awakened abilities takes time. The guy nods, memorizing every word. There is a possibility that there will be no progress at all without the right approach, the cat continues. Just acting on a hunch will waste months. The training must be accurate. How long did it take you, Caden? What are you saying? Caden grins. I invented this method myself. Now come here, he commands. Gino obediently stands up. Caden puts his paw on the guy's chest at a point above the heart. I'm posting it here. Him. It gets hot. But this. It feels right, he whispers to Jin, feeling the pulsation of energy. Remember this feeling. This is where your energy is concentrated. That's right, replies Gino with a serious face. I'm starting, says Caden, looking at the guy intently. The system is activated. Bright energy begins to pulse between them. TSSS, the vibration begins. Tsk. A current runs through Jin's body. He clenches his teeth in pain. SSKKC. A wave of power passes through his body, causing him to tremble. Bear the pain, shouts Caden. Overcome it and you will become stronger. Gino is straining with all his might. His hands are shaking. Sweat is streaming down my face. A light flash covers the room. The energy envelops them. Whoosh.